The Indiana Fever, they held their exit interviews today, and this is the first time that we've heard from Caitlin Clark since Lynx star Napheesa Collier's pointed comments about league leadership, including recounting a conversation she had with Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, where Napheesa said, quote, she was asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige are clearly driving massive revenue for the league and are making so little for their first 4 years. And Cathy's response, according to Fee, was, quote, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off of the court because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. Here is Caitlin's response to those comments.
First of all, I have great respect for Fee, and I think she made a lot of very valid points. And you know, I think what people need to understand, you know, we need great leadership in this time across all levels. This is straight up the most important moment in this league's history. Well, this league's been around for 25 plus years, and this is a moment we have to capitalize on. So that's honestly what I would say. I think there's, you know, Fee said it all with what she said, and, you know, I think the points she made were very valid.
Had you heard that story from her before she said it publicly? And then have you spoken with Cathy Engelbert or heard from her at all since then?
No.
Well, the voice you just heard asking Caitlin those questions was Alexa Philippou, our WNBA insider who joins us now. Alexa, what was your takeaway from Caitlin's comments there?
Yeah, Malika, well, I know a lot of people were waiting since Napheesa Collier's exit interview to hear from Caitlin Clark herself, and there might have been some, too, that really wanted her to go further than she did, maybe be more pointed than she was. But I think it's important to keep in mind that that's not really her style. It really hasn't been. But still, we can listen carefully to what she said, and I still think it's important what she stressed. You had an exchange with her where you asked about what she identifies as good in leadership, and she talked about relationships. She talked about seeking those out, being intentional in that regard, and really looking to understand people. And keeping that in mind and knowing that she told me that she hasn't heard from Cathy Engelbert, I think, you know, says a lot about what she values in the leadership, not just, you know, when it comes to, you know, within the Indiana Fever organization, but within the context of the league. And so the fact that, you know, that's something that she really values, and we've heard also from other players who said they haven't heard from leadership, it seems like there's a little bit of a common thread that's emerging as we've heard more and more players speak out over the past few days.
Yeah, a sentiment we've heard from players repeatedly in the last couple of days is the need for, quote, great leadership. So I asked Caitlin what great leadership actually looks like, and she was diplomatic. I want to read her comments directly. She said when you're talking about the NBA or when you're talking about corporate America, right, anywhere, she says relationships and really caring about the people you surround yourself with is what's important. That's what she told me. Now, Clark's teammate, Sophie Cunningham, was a little bit more direct in her response to Cathy Engelbert's leadership. Take a listen.
I'm just tired of our league. They need to step up and be better. Our leadership from top to bottom needs to be held accountable. I think that there are a lot of people in the position of powers in the WNBA who they might be really great business people, but they don't know about basketball, and that's got to change. Not really a fan of our leadership in the W. I just think they're failing us as a league, definitely failing us as players. And, you know, everything Napheesa said, we all feel that way, and we're all going to back her, and I think it's pretty strong coming from her. I think a lot of us have been saying that, but when it comes from someone to that caliber of a player, that we're being serious. And so my comment on that, I think it's pretty shameful that she always makes it about her, Cathy, when it should have nothing to do with her.
All right, Alexa, there was a lot there and in the rest of Sophie Cunningham's press conference, but what was the most important takeaway?
Yeah, well, I think the takeaway was that she just was really echoing a lot of these really pointed comments that we've heard this week from players and directly saying that leadership has failed. And she meant that in part, she was talking too about the context of this whole officiating conversation we've had around the league in recent weeks. But also she was bringing it up in the context of CBA negotiations, which we have to remember is happening amid all of what we're talking about with both the finals and the playoffs and obviously the offseason that's about to go underway. Now, Sophie Cunningham actually brought up the possibility of a work stoppage, and I want to quote actually what she said. She said, quote, "I promise you that we are not going to play until they give us what we deserve." And that's kind of where it's headed, unfortunately, referring to a potential work stoppage. And so I have not heard many players speak that directly about that as a real possibility. So that really stuck out to me. And she also was able to say that there is a call that's going to be happening today with WNBA players to get an update on negotiations, where things stand with the CBA talks. But this, again, was a really searing critique from yet another player who had a lot of issues with league leadership and where things stand.
And that's really important, right? We have not heard very many players so directly say that the way things are trending right now, if something does not change, is a work stoppage, which Sophie Cunningham said would not be good for the league. It doesn't match with this amazing season that we have just watched and witnessed. Alexa, thank you so much for your reporting.
You always want to become a better leader. And I think I've been around a lot of really good leaders in my life. I'm trying to learn and grow every single day as a leader too. And I think for me, it is all about relationships. And that's the truth. And I know that's really hard to say in professional sports, but whether it's a relationship with your front office, whether it's a relationship with commissioner of the league, whether it's a relationship with your teammates, like, that's the most important thing in leadership. You have to be very intentional about seeking those out. And, for me, I would say the most important part of leadership, whether that's the WNBA, whether that's corporate America, I think it comes down to relationships and really caring about the people you surround yourself with.
I should have been more specific. That's what you're hoping for from the league office when you say great leadership. You're hoping for that relationship-based great leadership.
Sure.
And the Hall of Famer Holly Rowe joins us now. Holly, what did you make of Caitlin's exit interview comments?
Well, I think it's interesting. She backed up Napheesa Collier. It shows just how unified and connected the women of the WNBA are, and that they are joined in unity in their message back to the WNBA leadership. I do think it's a problem that Cathy Engelbert's first phone call after Napheesa's comments wasn't to Caitlin Clark. I think what we are hearing across the board is players want to feel more connected with the league office, Cathy Engelbert. In fairness, Cathy has done a phenomenal job from a financial standpoint. The valuations of teams, the media rights deal, new arena deals, all of this is really good right now. Cathy has done a great job from a business standpoint. But she has got to listen to the players in the league right now that they feel like there is leadership lacking from a relationship standpoint and a true care about the health and safety of players. I do think another important takeaway today from Caitlin Clark was her health and how she is trying to fight to get back on the court. I think it's worth noting, Malika, that the Indiana Fever have just broken ground on a $78 million sports performance complex that is going to open in 2027. And people I've spoken to around the Fever during these exit interviews say that they are looking at their player performance umbrella, that they are going to bring in new people to be working players out, having good strength and conditioning practices and athletic training practices. Mm-hmm. So Caitlin Clark with a lot to say today in her exit interview about the leadership of the league, but also the leadership from her of getting back on the court and having one of the best, brightest stars have her health intact and really invested in the offseason.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part of all of this as well. Her saying that really in the last couple of weeks, she's turned a corner from where she felt she was previously. Holly, I know that the league and the players are in the middle of a really tense negotiation, and we heard Sophie Cunningham put that very, very specifically. But how surprised are you by the lack of communication right now, it seems like, between the two sides?
Yeah, I was trying to really think this through and be fair about it. You're in a CBA negotiation, so maybe leadership is not going to be having personal one-on-one conversations with players in the middle of a negotiation. But I think what is coming to light in the last couple of days, I was very bothered by Elena Deladon's comments on social media that she retired and has never heard from Cathy Engelbert. That can't happen. So we have got to make sure that the commissioner and the league front office is listening to the players, that they need more and want more communication. That's something easy to fix. We shouldn't have to be talking about that. That is an easy fix at a league level.
This is a conversation that's going to be extending over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, really, as we go forward towards those negotiations. But I want to put a pin in it for right now, Holly, because I'm going to see you in Vegas. The WNBA Finals, they are on ESPN. Game 1 is tomorrow. NBA Today will be there live from Sin City, baby. Friday, it's at 3 o'clock Eastern. Shanae Agumake will join us. Monica McNutt, players on both sides. We will see you tomorrow.